Breaking news coming out just moments ago of new warnings and threats ahead of the high-stakes meeting coming out between the United States and Russia that will be taking place in Alaska. Now, I'm going to play for you the video footage of what is coming out, and I'm also going to go ahead and share with you the articles that have been popping up just in the past couple of minutes. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Trump sets high stakes for Putin meeting with a new warning. You can see this coming out just a little while ago. And take a look at the live feeds here. Alaska 2025. You can see here Trump and Putin land in Alaska for the Ukraine talks. Now, let's take a look at this very quickly before we dive into the video footage here. Donald Trump has landed in Alaska for talks with Vladimir Putin on the Ukraine war. Watch the latest on Anchorage at the top of the page. The U.S. president says that he won't be happy if a ceasefire isn't agreed on during this meeting, which is set to start at 11:30 local time or 20:30 BST. The Kremlin says Trump will meet Putin at the steps of the Russian president's plane when it lands, adding the talks could last up to 7 hours. Volodymyr Zelensky, who is not invited to the summit, says Ukraine is counting on America and there's no indication that Russia is preparing to end this war. Correspondent analysis: the gap between Ukraine and Russia, what they want to end the war, is vast, and it remains to be seen if Trump can achieve his aim. Do you think that he will be able to do so? If you think so, put 47 in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Now, away from Alaska, Kiev residents are skeptical of these talks, while Russian soldiers tell the BBC that they just want it all to end. Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 with tens of thousands of soldiers that have lost their lives on both sides. So we're hearing that this is happening right now at this moment as we speak. Just moments ago, we're hearing these new warnings that are being issued by President Donald Trump on Air Force One on his way to the meeting in Alaska. And we're hearing these are high-stakes talks. And Donald Trump has also said that if he does not get what he wants out of these meetings here that are unfolding right now, he's prepared to walk, and there are going to be some serious repercussions. We will see what unfolds, but he is saying it is time to stop the killing and the loss of life, time to end this Russia-Ukraine war. And again, if you think he's going to be able to do it, drop a 47 in the comments. Hit that like button if you haven't done so yet. And again, this is live breaking news today, August 15th, 2025. It is currently 2:04 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas. So we're going to be seeing what unfolds with these meetings, and I will let you know here on the channel. This could be the kickoff of negotiations for peace talks, agreements ending the war with Russia and Ukraine, or this could be the beginning of massive escalatory actions taken by both sides, including the United States. There have been threats of World War III, threats of nuclear war, and there have been threats directly from Russia to the United States. We've seen the rhetoric back and forth between former president of Russia and the current president of the United States, Donald Trump. And that former president is Dmitry Medvedev. He has been issuing a lot of threats to the United States lately that sparked, actually, the United States to send 2 nuclear submarines out by Russia. Russia has also deployed nuclear bombers after that. So things have escalated significantly. So we're going to be seeing where we go from here. Now, to stay up to date, it's totally free. Hit that subscribe button. I'll keep you up to speed on everything. If you missed my video yesterday, you might want to check it out as Donald Trump celebrated the 90th anniversary of Social Security. And we also saw a 6.3 magnitude earthquake take place over in Solomon's Islands, along with over 100 earthquakes that rocked California in a 24-hour period, along with earthquakes in North Carolina and a 100-foot tsunami wave that hit Alaska. A lot going on. I'll keep you up to speed on everything. I cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it. If you appreciate that, hit that like button. You can see all the sourced articles in the description. But with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and get right to it so that way you can see what Donald Trump had to say moments ago.
To this summit today, I can't tell you that. I don't know. There's nothing set in stone. I want certain things. I want to see a ceasefire. This is not to do with Europe. Europe's not telling me what to do. But they're going to be involved in the process, obviously, as will Zelensky. But I want to see a ceasefire rapidly. I don't know if it's going to be today, but I'm not going to be happy if it's not today. Everyone said it can't be today, but I'm just saying I want the killing to stop. I'm in this to stop the killing. You know, we're not putting up any money. We're making money. They're buying our weapons, and we're sending them to NATO, and NATO's sending us big, beautiful checks. But that I don't care about that. I care about, it was a big factor when Biden spent $350 billion and got nothing. But what I do care about is they lost last week 7,011 people were lost, almost all soldiers. 36 people in a town which got hit by a missile, but over 7,000 soldiers. It's crazy.
Could you describe a little bit, Mr. President, because I know you've had a lot of phone calls with President Putin. What's the difference in a face-to-face, in-person meeting?
Look, he's a smart guy, been doing it for a long time, but so have I. Been doing it for a long time. And here we are, we're president. That was much more difficult than what I'm doing today, believe me. So we get along. There's a good respect level on both sides. And I think, you know, something's going to come of it. I noticed he's bringing a lot of business people from Russia. And that's good. I like that because they want to do business, but they're not doing business until we get the war settled.
Are you going to talk about business? Will you talk
business? We have the hottest country on earth. We have the hottest economy on earth. We have the hottest country. We just set a new stock market record again. We have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in from tariffs. We're the hottest country. We were a dead country, dead like doornails, a dead country. 1 year ago, we were dead as a doornail, and now we have the hottest country. And he wants a piece of that because his country is not hot economically. In fact, it's the opposite. And China's not doing well economically, but look, I want everybody to do well. The war's got to stop and the killing's got to stop.
Mr. President, what do you stop? Thank you for coming back to take questions. We saw that Russia continued its violence into Ukraine last night, launching even more drones. What did you make of that?
I think they're trying to negotiate. He's trying to set a stage. I mean, in his mind, that helps him make a better deal. It actually hurts him. But in his mind, that helps him make a better deal if they can continue the killing. Maybe it's a part of the world. Maybe it's just his fabric, his genes, his genetics. But he thinks that makes him, gives him strength in negotiating. I think it hurts him, but I'll be talking to him about it later.
It's on the table for discussions today, Mr. President. Are the territorial swaps on the table? Will you be discussing that?
They'll be discussed, but I've got to let Ukraine make that decision. And I think they'll make a proper decision. But I'm not here to negotiate for Ukraine. I'm here to get them at a table. And I think you have two sides. Look, Vladimir Putin wanted to take all of Ukraine. If I wasn't president, he would right now be taking all of Ukraine. But he's not going to do it.
Mr. President, what did you mean?
Just one thing. What about the possibility of the United States providing security guarantees to Ukraine?
Maybe. Along with Europe and other countries. Not in the form of NATO, because that's not going to, you know, there are certain things that aren't going to happen. But, yeah, along with Europe, there's a possibility of that.
Mr. President, the number of business people that President Putin is bringing along, is that something that you want to discuss with President Putin at this meeting?
If we make progress, I would discuss it, because that's one of the things that they would like. They'd like to get a piece of what I built in terms of the economy. Just so you know, we were a dead country with our economy. He wouldn't be interested. He wouldn't have been interested a year ago with the Biden economy. But he is interested in the Trump economy because we're doing. Wait till you see when those factories start opening up. We have hundreds of factories all over the country, and that includes auto factories, AI factories, and every other. They're all coming in because they want to beat the tariffs. Because if they open here, they don't have to pay tariffs. If they don't open here, they have to pay, in some cases, 200%, 300%. I haven't even set some of the tariffs yet. I'll be setting tariffs next week and the week after on steel and on, I would say, chips. Chips and semiconductors. We'll be setting sometime next week, week after.
You're looking at what rate?
I'm going to have a rate that is going to be lower at the beginning. Then that gives them a chance to come in and build. and very high after a certain period of time. And if they don't build here, they have to pay a very high tariff, which doesn't work, so they'll come and build.
Mr. President, hi. You had said earlier...
Is she over there? Isn't he a gentleman?
He's helping me out.
He's a very nice, he's one of the few nice ones, actually.
You had said earlier this week that Putin would face severe consequences if you get the sense from him that he's not interested. What do you mean by that?
Economically severe. Yes, it will be very severe. I'm not doing this for my health, okay? I don't need it. I'd like to focus on our country, but...
The high-stakes summit is now just a few hours away. The president says he's going to feel out whether Putin is open to peace. The president acknowledges the talks could fail, but says he hopes they spur a follow-up meeting, which would include Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Here's the president just a few minutes ago on Air Force One.
He's bringing a lot of business people from Russia, and that's good. I like that because they want to do business, but they're not doing business until we get the war settled.
You had said earlier this week that Putin would face severe consequences if you get the sense from him that he's not interested. What do you mean by that?
Economically severe. Yes, it will be very severe. I'm not doing this for my health, okay? I don't need it. I'd like to focus on our country, but I'm doing this to save a lot of lives. Yeah, very severe.
Peter Ducey is in Anchorage, Alaska. He can do a preview for us. It's still dark there, Peter.
Sun's coming up, though. Sun's not down for very long here in Alaska, we learned since we arrived, Dana. And we had a chance to talk to President Trump this morning very briefly while he was making his way to Air Force One. And he's saying there could be some surprises out of this summit today, but that his number one objective is to save lives. And so there's all these Russian businessmen who are already here or who are arriving later on with the delegation who would love to start doing business in the United States in Alaska, particularly with rare earth minerals. And it could happen soon, but not until Putin pulls out of Ukraine.
We have the hottest country, and he wants a piece of that because his country is not hot economically. In fact, it's the opposite. And China's not doing well economically, but we're all, look, I want everybody to do well. The war's got to stop and the killing's got to stop.
Another Nobel Peace Prize nomination could soon be in the cards for President Trump from Hillary Clinton. She told Jessica Tarlov in a podcast interview, honestly, if he could bring about the end to this terrible war, if he could end it without putting Ukraine in a position where it had to concede its territory to the aggressor, could really stand up to Putin, something we haven't seen. Maybe this is the opportunity. If President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize because my goal here is not to allow capitulation to Putin. Same for Trump, who does admit this meeting might not work.
I'm not here to negotiate for Ukraine. I'm here to get them at a table, and I think you have two sides. Look, Vladimir Putin wanted to take all of Ukraine. If I wasn't president, he would right now be taking all of Ukraine, but he's not going to do it.
And as President Trump sits on Air Force One, heading to Alaska, and surveys the last couple of months and global conflicts that he and his team have had a hand in ending, he sees some wars where people were fighting with machetes, some wars where people were threatening to use nuclear weapons. But this peace has been the most elusive, and today is the biggest step that either U.S. President Joe Biden or Donald Trump has taken towards that peace since the war broke out 3 years ago. Dana?
Peter, could I just ask you a couple of logistical questions? So this afternoon, they'll have a meeting. I don't know how long that's going to last. And then the president yesterday on Brian Kilmeade's radio show said there will be a press conference, but he does not know if Putin will be a part of that.
And we've heard from the public comments that White House officials have been making that depending on how the summit goes, the plan is for Vladimir Putin to stand there and answer questions next to Donald Trump. And so that's something we have not seen since the first Trump term. It didn't happen at any point during Biden's administration. And in fact, when we were with him in Geneva 3 years ago for the summit in June 2021 with Putin and Biden had separate press conferences. That was the one where Joe Biden famously gave Putin a list of critical infrastructure and asked Putin please not to hack it in the United States. They had separate press conferences. The plan is, the aspiration here is for them to have a joint press conference, but a lot has to happen for that to happen. And President Trump says if Putin's not there, he'll still probably talk anyway.
All right, Peter Ducey, thank you so much. We'll get this day underway.
So, Dana, a bit of explainer on the map behind us, a bit of history, too. Let's go back 11 years to 2014, all right? Capital city of Kyiv here. This is under President Obama when Putin first went into the southeastern part of Ukraine. He took all of Crimea and the peninsula here and most of the Donbass region. Now we go to 2022 under Joe Biden, okay? This is when the invasion happens in February, third week of 2022. This is how far Russia expanded into Ukraine at that time. 3 years later, this is what the battlefield looks like. Ukraine pushed past in the north and the northeast and here in the south as well, and Russia has held on to the parts here in red. What could be negotiated if you start to get into a land for peace deal? What could possibly be on the table? What would the Ukrainians agree to? All right. In Luhansk, this first region, the Russians occupy almost 100% of it. In Donetsk, it's about 3/4. Same for Zaporizhia. And then Kherson down here, about 70%. Here and here and here is what has been talked about. Crimea, they haven't sacrificed anything. They still control it 100% going back 11 years. I want to bring in Mark Thiessen to talk about this now. Mark, listen to Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. We believe he will be in the room today with Putin and Trump and his Russian counterpart.
This war has been going on for 3.5 years now. It was a war that started under the previous administration. The president's inherited that, and he's trying to do now what he can to bring it to an end. But even as I speak, even as we talk here now, there are changes happening in the battlefield which have an impact on what one side views as leverage or the other. So that's the reality of ongoing fighting, which is why a ceasefire is so critical.
Now, that was yesterday. This is today. Mark, do you see a best case scenario? Do you see a best case outcome for today?
Well, the best case scenario is that Putin is willing to deal and willing to give up territory in a deal. But, you know, here's the thing. You heard Donald Trump say, look, I don't need this. Vladimir Putin is the one who asked for this meeting. So he better be coming to the table willing to make concessions, because if he dragged Donald Trump 7 hours across the continent all the way to Alaska to not make any concessions and not end this war, this may end up being much worse for Vladimir Putin than it would have been if he never asked for the meeting to begin with. Because he's wasting if he doesn't make concessions, if he's not willing to end the war, if he's not willing to do that, he's wasting Donald Trump's time. And Donald Trump may bring the hammer on him. The reason they're having this meeting is because Putin knew that Donald Trump was going to bring the economic hammer down in Russia. The only thing that's keeping the Russian economy afloat is oil. Donald Trump drove Iranian oil and gas from the global market in his first term. He was getting ready to do the same thing to Russia. He had already brought sanctions on secondary tariffs on India, and he was about to do it on China to shut down their oil sales. And Putin is desperate to stop that from happening. And so let's see if he makes a deal.
Mark, you wrote a piece in your column in the Washington Post, and the headline is How Trump Can Win at the Alaska Summit. And I'll read just a little bit from that and get your take on it, saying that telling Mr. Putin that the West will capitalize on Russia's economic and financial vulnerabilities while expanding assistance to Ukraine may push the Russian leader to consider an alternative strategy to ultimatums and stonewalling. But one thing I've been paying attention to as I talk to folks this week is that Russia has made some serious gains in the last month. Does Putin come to this feeling like he's not got the upper hand, but that he's got cards to play?
Well, if he thinks he has the upper hand, he's sadly mistaken. Because his economy is teetering on the brink. They've got double-digit inflation. They've got labor shortages. There are literally in Russia right now, there are armed robberies to steal butter from grocery stores so they can resell it on the black market. That's how bad the Russian economy is. He's running out of armor. They're not going to have any tanks left. He's in deep trouble. But I don't know that he's coming in with that attitude. You know, I don't know if you saw this, but Lavrov showed up in Alaska wearing a USSR sweatshirt that said CCCP across the front of it. That was intentional. That's sending a signal that they have not given up on their goal of restoring the borders of the old Soviet Empire. And so if that's the attitude they're bringing, they're going to get hit pretty hard coming out of this summit.
So here is another possibility. The rare earth minerals could be negotiated. Maybe. That's what we're hearing. Here was the question this week. Hang on. Number 4.
Yeah.
Do you plan to offer him access to that at all?
We have great rare earth. We made that as payment for all of the money that we've spent so foolishly in Ukraine. We spent $350 billion. Now, Europe spent $1 billion, but we are spending a lot of time trying to get the war solved. If we can get the war solved, we'll be very happy. As far as rare earth, that's very unimportant relative. I'm trying to save lives.
That would be a deal between the U.S. and Russia. However, the tricky part in all of this is that the Ukrainian government has to approve anything that Putin and Trump lay out. And that could take some time, Mark. How do you see that developing now?
Yeah, so first of all, on the rare earths, Trump negotiated a rare earth deal with Ukraine. One of the interesting things is that the land that Putin is asking for actually contains a lot of uranium and rare earths that we're supposed to get in the deal with Ukraine. So why would the U.S. want to give that up? Number one. Number two, every time Trump is asked about this, Putin is coming with, I want to do arms control with you. I want to do economic deals with you. I want to do rare earths deals from you. And all Trump says is, let's end the war, then we can talk about all that. So if Putin thinks he's going to come out dangling a shiny object in front of Donald Trump, he didn't read the art of the deal. Trump is focused on one thing, ending the war, stopping the killing, stopping the death. And if Putin thinks he's going to trick him into allowing him to continue the war with some rare earth deals, there's a lot of places we can get rare earths, including Ukraine. We don't need it as rare earths.
Okay. All right, Mark, you're the first up today, and a long line of folks will be analyzing this. Thank you, Mark. Mark Thiessen there.
Hey, everyone.
There you have it, you guys. Now, I have up the live feed right now. I am watching, there is a live feed up right now of the Trump and Putin arrival in Alaska pivotal summit. Watch live. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. If we get live footage of this, I'm going to pull it up. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and share with you this article on Trump sets high stakes for the Putin meeting with new warnings. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This came out as breaking news right when I went ahead and started this live stream. Now, this says that President Donald Trump said that he would walk away if today's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin does not go well. So he is putting a line in the sand saying that he will just go ahead and step away from all of this. In a clip from an interview aboard Air Force One, which we saw with Fox News' Brett Bauer, posted on X, Trump predicts that the talks would work out very well. And if it doesn't, I'm going to head back home real fast. I would walk. Yeah, he added in response to the follow-up questions. Now, later Friday, Trump shared another video from a press gaggle aboard the plane. Asked what would define a successful summit, he replied, I want to see a ceasefire rapidly. I don't know if it's going to be today, but I'm not going to be happy if it's not today. I'm in this to stop the killing, he said. Now, as you can see, this is a breaking news story, updates to follow, and we're going to see what unfolds here. Now, let me know your thoughts. I got a poll here, and right now the room is split 50-50, but drop in the comments for me. What do you think is going to be the end results of today's meeting? Are we going to see war or peace? Drop a war or drop a peace in the comments, letting me know where you think that we're going to be going from here. Also, if you haven't done so yet, please hit the like button if you appreciate the updates. Now, like I said, I am keeping an eye on this live feed for you guys. We're going to see if anything comes of this here while we're live, but I'm going to play for you another clip so that way you can see the latest. And let's also check this live feed out right here that I have pulled up if there are any new updates. As you can see, Trump and Putin greet each other with a handshake as they head for Ukraine talks in Alaska. And just the last update was that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin shake hands as they meet on the tarmac in Alaska for talks on the Ukrainian war. Watch the latest. So I'm keeping an eye on this for you guys. But let's go ahead and look at some more video footage so that way you can see the latest updates that are coming out on this. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Turning back to our coverage of today's high-stakes summit, President Trump has raised some eyebrows with his decision to allow Russian President Vladimir Putin onto a U.S. airbase in Alaska. In the past, they've only met abroad, and for good reason. CBS Evening News co-anchor John Dickerson explains why the location for these meetings has a lot of significance.
In parts of Alaska, Russian Orthodox churches still stand, their onion domes a reminder of that earlier reach. That might sound like ancient history in the light of the events bringing leaders of those countries to Anchorage, except that Vladimir Putin justifies his invasion of Ukraine by citing the history of the 9th century. The war that bled Russia, leading to the 19th century sale, took place on the Crimean Peninsula, the location of Putin's 2014 start of this war. Diplomacy usually unfolds in the courtyards of capitals, under chandeliers where the marble floors are polished by centuries of careful footwork. In Alaska, the marble is still in the ground, jagged and unworked, like the present diplomacy. Hard-edged, slogging work, little room for ceremony. The chosen venue keeps up the tension. A meeting meant to project cordiality is being held at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, whose fighter squadrons intercept Russian aircraft that regularly test U.S. airspace. For decades, Alaska was derided as Seward's Folly, a barren expanse bought on a whim. Then came the gold, the oil, and the strategic advantage. An unexpected payoff that fuels the hope, however slim, behind today's meeting, that geography might be destiny, and that a gamble against all expectations can yield something that looks like wisdom in hindsight.
Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan is also in Anchorage for the summit. She sat down with Alaska Republican Senator Dan Sullivan and discussed what's at stake today.
All right, you guys want to pause this because I have got some footage for you live. Let's go ahead and take a look at this here. They are meeting at this moment as we speak. Let's go ahead and get this going for you guys. We're going to hear what's happening right now.
There's nobody responding back. We'll wait for a little bit more of the playback once they're able to push that out. It was a little bit hard to see at times because of the quality.
Watching it all here on Live Now. So what a double box. That's what we call it. The split screen, Air Force One, the Russian president's plane in Alaska. Alaska, of all places, Mike. We know the Russian history with Alaska.
Yeah, so true. And, this is a time where you have to wonder, too, about this meeting that is going to be coming up and just how hard it is to try to conduct a peace deal moment for the summit where you have a leader like President Putin who really deflects, lies, and will do it right to your face. And with a straight face, he could do it as easy as breathing. And if you remember the buildup to the war in Ukraine, there was moments in January where our intelligence was telling Ukraine it looks like they are getting closer to a war.
Yeah.
And President Putin and his team would constantly say, no, these are just drills. We are just doing operations. I just want to go out full right now. I'll keep an eye on the other shot here, but we want to take out full right now. President Trump coming down the steps of Air Force One, and really the pressure that must be mounting on his shoulders, not only for the U.S. side, but really for the representation of Ukraine as well, coming down and trying to get some sort of deal done, or even just the working. So now here we go of President Putin coming down as well. Let's show you the side-by-side right now, Andrew. What a moment right here of the two leaders coming. President Trump now coming near that red carpet right now. And on the other side, we have President Putin coming down his red carpet as well, and flanked by his security team, what would be his Secret Service for Russia now coming. And let's go now back out to President Trump as well, making his way and alone right now as he's stepping forward.
the greetings
Ultimately, they will come down near this side and meet at the center of the tarmac right now. And President Putin coming closer as well. And here we go. President Trump now waiting for the Russian president to come. We will see what the body language is in just moments, Andrew. I'm now going to just bring up the audio as well to see if we could hear anything when President Putin and President Trump come. You see President Trump now clapping for President Putin, who is coming his way straight ahead right now. Let's watch and see. Small talk as we see so many times, the small talk from President Trump already starting with President Putin. They've said some words already. A warm handshake started this summit off right now in Alaska. There was just a flyover. We just didn't get to see it there, but there was a flyover that just happened moments ago. And now they are posing here for pictures.
President, what's your message to Vladimir Putin? Mr. Putin, did you underestimate Ukraine? President Putin, will you stop killing civilians? President Putin, how can the U.S. trust your word? Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Press, let's go. Let's go around the rabbit. Come on, guys. We got stuff. We're still holding for a minute? Okay. The driver's here,
There you have it, you guys. So this is a live feed going on. This is about 20 minutes ago. I backed it up so we could see the moment that Trump and Putin met. So right now we're hearing they are on their way to that meeting. We're going to be seeing what unfolds. I will keep you up to date as more comes out of it. And we heard Trump make that announcement that, hey, something needs to come of this. If something does not come of this, I'm just going to walk away and I'm just going to let things unravel. So let me know in the comments, war or peace, where do you think we are going with this? And they said this meeting could be up to 7 hours long. So we're going to see what happens. And as we get some updated information, I'll be sure to share with you here on the channel. And do me a favor, if you haven't done so yet, if you appreciate the live updates, take a second, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to stay up to date. It is totally free. Why not? And as always, the articles I reference, I put them on the screen, read right from them, cite the sources, have them hyperlinked so you can see the dates, you can see where they're coming from, and I'll continue to keep you up to speed on everything. But we're hearing that meeting is underway. And in roughly 7 hours from now, we will see what happens, and we will see if Donald Trump stays in that meeting and manages to negotiate some form of peace treaty with Russia and Ukraine, or if he's going to walk away and we're going to see more war unfold. Let me know in the comments, war or peace? Where are we going? Hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date. And you guys, that is the latest. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.